The FIA just rocked the paddock. Lando Norris could lose everything after a shocking post-race inspection revealed potential violations on his car. Red Bull is already preparing the paperwork. If Norris gets hit with a full penalty, Max Verstappen could be crowned champion days after losing the race. This is not just speculation. The FIA confirmed an open case with major consequences, and the title fight is officially back on. If you love F1 drama, if you want to know how this ends, and if you're ready for the craziest twist of the season, subscribe now, because this story is far from over. When Lando Norris stepped out of the car in Abu Dhabi, it looked like the season was sealed. Applause, interviews, and celebration. But less than 2 hours later, the tone inside the paddock changed completely. The FIA released a bulletin confirming that Norris' car had been flagged during post-race inspection and the word irregularity was used. In F1, that's not just a red flag. It's the start of a firestorm. What triggered the alarm was a combination of plank or measurements and telemetry data inconsistencies. FIA sensors under the MCL38 chassis picked up more wear than expected, suggesting the car may have been running with an illegal ride height during parts of the race. In technical terms, this could mean extra aerodynamic grip, and in sporting terms, an advantage that directly impacts the outcome of the race. Norris and McLaren are maintaining their innocence. Their position is that any plank degradation was caused by track-specific factors: aggressive curbs, track temperature, tire load, all part of normal race wear. But the FIA's inspection doesn't just look at damage. It evaluates whether the design of the car made that damage more likely, which would point to a breach of Article 3.5.9 in the technical regulations. What makes this so critical is the precedent. Formula One has penalized drivers for this before, most notably Lewis Hamilton in Austin 2023. The margin for legal plank wear is just 1 millimeter. If the car crosses that limit, the sanction is automatic disqualification. The rules are clear, and the FIA's post-race language now puts Norris on the edge of a sporting disaster. This opens a new door for Max Verstappen. While the Dutch driver didn't win on track, his car passed all inspections cleanly. No irregularities, no wear issues, and no pending investigations. If Norris' result is overturned, and that's a real possibility, Verstappen would move up and take the win, and possibly the title, depending on the final points tally. Red Bull has already made internal moves. Legal advisors and technical staff are reviewing every FIA bulletin, looking for the language that signals a potential disqualification. The key detail? The FIA is not treating this as an isolated part failure. They're reviewing the entire floor design of the MCL38. That shifts the conversation from accident to engineering intent, a far more dangerous zone for McLaren. For now, Norris remains in the standings. But the shadow over his title is growing larger by the hour. One ruling, one final technical judgment from the FIA, could wipe his result from the board. And in that vacuum, Verstappen is waiting quietly, patiently, knowing that sometimes, in Formula One, championships aren't always won on Sunday. They're won in the steward's office. What the FIA found in the post-race inspection of Lando Norris' car isn't just about a few millimeters of wood worn off under the plank. It's a deeper question of how McLaren designed, configured, and pushed their car to the edge of legality and perhaps beyond it. At this level of Formula One, every thousandth of a second counts, and teams play right up to the line of the rulebook. But sometimes, the line moves or the car moves past it. McLaren has been running an aggressive low-rake setup all season, especially on high-speed tracks like Abu Dhabi. The design philosophy favors aerodynamic efficiency at the cost of plank durability. It's a risk-reward calculation. Run lower, get more downforce through the corners, but increase the risk of bottoming out, especially over curbs. If the car hits the track surface too hard or too often, the plank gets shaved away. And once it's past the 9mm legal minimum, the FIA no longer asks why. The penalty is automatic. The issue here is that the telemetry doesn't lie. FIA inspectors notice not only excessive wear on the plank but inconsistencies in ride height data collected through Sector 2 of the Yas Marina circuit, particularly through the chicane and sweeping left-hander. These readings suggested that Norris' car was running lower than what was declared to the FIA pre-race. That raises a serious engineering question: was the setup adjusted last minute, or did the floor flex beyond what's permitted? This is where Article 3.15 of the technical regulations enters the picture. It strictly limits the flexibility of aerodynamic surfaces and floor structures. If any part of the car is found to be moving or flexing in a way that artificially lowers the car under load, like during high-speed corners, the FIA considers it a breach of technical compliance. This isn't about wear anymore. It's about intent. Did McLaren knowingly build a system to exploit gray areas? Meanwhile, Red Bull engineers are watching all of this with intense interest. They've long argued that McLaren's sudden gains in high-speed performance late in the season couldn't be fully explained by software or aero tweaks alone. This potential floor irregularity adds weight to their suspicions. Red Bull's technical director was seen reviewing slow-motion footage and floor camera angles from FP3 in qualifying, looking for physical evidence of bottoming or flexing. At this point in the championship, engineering matters aren't just about performance, they're about legality. In a season where tenets mean everything, the FIA's job isn't just to police the rules. It's to protect sporting fairness. If McLaren's design pushed beyond the legal envelope, even unintentionally, the consequences could rewrite the final result of the World Championship. That is why this investigation isn't just about Norris. It's about the integrity of Formula One. And that's why Verstappen's garage has been silent, but fully alert. If McLaren's floor concept collapses under scrutiny, and Norris is stripped of his race result, Verstappen would inherit the win, and if the points align, the title. That's how close engineering and championship destiny now live in Formula One. Millimeters, software, flex tests, this is where titles are truly won or lost. As soon as the FIA bulletin hit the teams, the paddock turned into a war room. This wasn't just a post-race formality anymore, it was a full-blown political and strategic chess match. On one side, McLaren scrambled to defend their car's legality. On the other, Red Bull's senior leadership saw an opportunity, a championship title that could be flipped with the right argument and the right interpretation of the rulebook. McLaren immediately began preparing a detailed technical dossier to present to the stewards, including sensor data, track telemetry, tire degradation analysis, and damage reports. Their strategy was clear: frame the excessive plank war as an unavoidable consequence of the track layout and race dynamics, not as a product of intentional design. The goal? To demonstrate that any non-compliance was incidental and not performance-enhancing, hoping to avoid disqualification. But Red Bull didn't stay passive. They instructed their legal and compliance team to analyze not only the FIA's report but also historic precedents. The team cited the 2023 United States Grand Prix, where both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were disqualified for similar floor wear violations. The logic was simple: if the FIA was strict then, they must be strict now. Red Bull wasn't just pushing for fairness, they were building a legal pathway to Verstappen's fourth title. The pressure mounted further when whispers emerged that the FIA had video footage and high-definition floor cam data showing Norris' car sparking excessively through Sector 2. Red Bull believed this visual proof would support their case, showing that the ride height was too low across multiple laps. If that could be linked to aerodynamic gain, especially in race trim, the argument for disqualification would be nearly impossible to counter. Toto Wolff and Fred Vasseur were also watching closely. Not because they were directly involved, but because the outcome of this protest would set a precedent for future regulation enforcement. If McLaren escaped with a reprimand or fine, it could open the door for other teams to flirt with illegal setups. But if the FIA brought down the hammer, it would reinforce a message that no championship is safe from post-race scrutiny, no matter how dramatic the win. Inside the McLaren garage, the atmosphere turned icy. Engineers were seen rechecking floor load data, running back simulations, and revisiting every detail of the Abu Dhabi setup. Zak Brown took a closed-door meeting with FIA representatives, hoping to resolve the issue quietly. But the damage had been done. The investigation had gone public, and Verstappen's fanbase was already erupting online demanding the title be handed over. This isn't just a battle between cars or drivers, it's one of interpretation, precedent, and perception. F1 is no stranger to controversy, but rarely has a title been so dependent on what happens after the checkered flag. Every line of telemetry, every frame of video, every word from the stewards now carries the weight of the World Championship. And Verstappen, who didn't win on track, could walk away with everything if McLaren falters under the spotlight.